a look at some of the newspaper front pages for you this morning. And the Mail leads with Rishi Sunak plotting a radical election pledge to abolish national insurance in a bid to show that the Tories are on the side of working people.
We're turning the corner is the headline on the front of the Times.
The Mirror says we deserve better after Jeremy Hunt tried to woo voters with a budget full of gimmicks, they say, will do little to help with soaring living costs.
And The Sun with that great tabloid exclusive. Harry's pants sell for £250,000. Apparently the Duke of Sussex's old boxer shorts he wore during the infamous Las Vegas party incident have been sold at auction.
Lovely. And the Daily Telegraph leads with the Chancellor's plans to put an end to national insurance.
And The Guardian says Britain will go into the next general election with taxes at their highest level since 1948, despite Jeremy Hunt's 2p cut in national insurance.
Well, joining us now to go through these papers and more is former Liberal Democrat Minister Norman Baker and GP and medical writer Dr Renee Honderkamp. Very good to see you both this morning. And this is the front of many of the papers, isn't it? One of the biggest takeaways, really, from the budget was something that wasn't even in this budget, which is the eventual end to national insurance altogether.
Well, let's be quite clear what this means. This is, if it happens, it will be an amalgamation of income tax and national insurance. There's no way the government can throw away £50 billion of income from national insurance. So it's a bit of smoke and mirrors, really. People will get taxed one way or the other. I mean, having said that, the Tories have swayed around on national insurance. It was going to be raised, if you remember, a while back to pay for social care and for extra money for the health service. And now it's going to be abolished, apparently. So they don't seem to be very consistent in their thoughts.
Renee, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's a really odd way for them to go if they're really trying to sway people into voting for them. I think income tax is what people will feel, and that's where they should have made the cuts. To do this is really odd because self-employed people have done their tax returns for this year. They won't do their tax returns until next year, so they're not going to feel this. So there's a huge swathe of small business owners who are the crux of this country who really are not going to see any benefit from this apart from if they're employing people. And I just think it's a really odd policy for them to go for. It shows that they're really not understanding how hard it is for people to put food on the table.
Well, yeah, of course, mortgages are up thousands of pounds a year, potentially, for some people. Energy bills are through the roof, groceries are up. I got a letter yesterday saying my council tax was going up, like many other people. It's not going to touch the sides, is it?
It's not going to touch the sides, and I think most people don't really understand it. They understand income tax.
Yeah.
And that's probably what people wanted to see. Do let us know, actually. Keep those views coming in. I've got loads of them here. We'll share them later. Do keep them coming in. gbviews@gbnews.com. Renee, what did you make of the £6 billion that's going to be ploughed into the NHS? This is part of artificial intelligence and waiting lists. Tell us a bit more about that.
OK, so I'm not a proponent of putting more money into the organisation that we're told yesterday is, makes us proud. It doesn't make us proud. It's an embarrassment. It's like a third world service. And I know, because I work within it, throwing more money into a black hole that is so inefficient is not going to change anything at all. And as for putting most of it into IT, it's actually laughable. Don't forget, we had the national programme where we were going to get rid of all paperwork for doctors. And believe me, there's plenty of paperwork for doctors. GPs spend most of their day doing paperwork. And that was written off, £12 billion, because it was an abject failure. In 2013, we said that the NHS was going to be paperless by 2018. That would have been brilliant. And now, then Health Secretary said something brilliant at a Parliamentary Select Committee. He said, I perhaps rather bravely said I wanted the NHS to be paperless by 2018 in my first few months as Health Secretary. I'm quite relieved that most people seem to have forgotten that I made that promise.
Oh, goodness.
Well, let me tell you, the GPs and the doctors in hospitals working within it haven't forgotten. So to throw another £3.5 billion at tech, when it just can't be done, you can't sew together all these disparate patchwork bits and pieces into a quilt. You need to scrap it, start from the bottom.
Norman, is the NHS the envy of the world?
No, it isn't, I'm afraid. And anyone who wants to get a doctor's appointment or to get an operation in hospital will tell you it's not. And if you look at the queues at A&E, the NHS is, I'm afraid, like much of the country, falling to bits. And this is where I think the Chancellor's got the budget wrong, actually, because If he thinks that 2p off national insurance are going to sway people's votes, he's deluding himself, because what people are concerned about are the council tax rises, the fact that the country's full of potholes all over the place. I was in France last week for a week. There wasn't a single road with a pothole anywhere. They're everywhere in this country. You've got queues for doctors, you've got council tax going up, you've got a record number of food banks. You know, the country is not in a good state.
And by the way, Norman, the OBR sneakily increased their forecast for net migration yesterday as well.
They did.
Up to 315,000 from 245. GDP per capita fell by 0.7% last year, blowing apart the myth, it's argued, that migration is good for growth.
Well, indeed. I mean, I was just saying to Rennie off camera that we end up with all these things being smuggled out on news days. When there's a big news story like the budget or a royal birth or something, I look through the papers for what else is happening, because a lot of stuff's been smuggled out under those occasions.
Renee, why don't the Tories, why don't they get it that migration is the number one
I don't know.
Their voters?
They seem absolutely glued to this global world that if we're just all in it together as one big country, everything will be okay. They're so out of touch, but I think Labour are too, so out of touch with how people are feeling on the ground when they can't get anything done. You know, we can't get hospital appointments. We can't get people seen for sometimes 2 years. Yesterday I had patients saying to me, I feel like I'm in between you two guys and no one can sort it out, because we can't sort it out. And the government seem to be completely out of touch with the fact that most people feel that if you flood the country with more people, that's going to get worse if you don't fix it first.